Okay.
You want to clap? Have a clap. And double clap.
Good morning. My name is Callum. I'm the CEO of eola, and with me today,
I'm Dan, and I'm co-founder and CTO.
we are the founders of eola, which is an operating system for experienced businesses. We essentially give them the ability to manage their business really easily and make a lot more money. 21 has been an interesting year. We started in a very, very different place from where we are today. It had been a long year through 2020. We were running out of resources. We were struggling. We were in a difficult place. And near the beginning of this year, we secured a large amount of investment, which completely changed our position. And over the last 9 months, we've spent that time building out a huge amount of the team, the resources, investing in really exciting new projects. And we find ourselves at the end of this year in a surprisingly strong position. Even though it's been a tough time, it has been a pretty awesome time. What would you say?
100%. Like from the tech perspective, everything is like wildly different. We went from a position where, everything was kind of being done as best as we could. But now the team is like 3-4 times the size. The quality of everything that we do is just been enabled massively. And yeah, it's super exciting. We spent the entire year building much better foundations for 2022 coming up.
It's impressive. Every time I turn around, there's a new engineer in our Slack conversations. It's, who's this, Dan? Who's
Callum,
this?
Callum did ask me if there were any new people this week other than Mike. Like, I like that was a great question. From the tech perspective, the way that we kind of like allowed for that growth is I massively believe in making sure there are no processes that are there just to be processes. So like a lot of teams subscribe to like Agile and Scrum and like loads of other buzzwords that kind of to manage their pipeline. From our perspective, we have been just organically evolving what we do and constantly getting feedback from the team and like improving the process where it needs to be done. And I feel like we're in a really good position. Teams working like clockwork. We're incredibly productive. And what that's led to is the ability for us to, from the ground up, essentially rebuild the foundations so that we can move forward incredibly fast going forward at this point. It's going to be pretty phenomenal change.
For me, it's as much as possible, I try and make no decisions. Not just because I'm really bad at them, but because I think ultimately my job is to set direction, not decisions. And so over this year, more and more, it's about everyone else driving their own approaches. So the more we decentralize it and empower people to be just incredible, the more we're just seeing really, really awesome things come out of it. Always the way we hire people is we want to hire people better than we are. And so the fundamental view is that I should be the least intelligent, least capable person in the business. So the more we give these people the opportunities to make their own decisions, their own directions, their own ideas, the more we can do pretty cool stuff. So it's really allowed us to grow really, really quickly and really well, but without running into giant headaches everywhere.
I'm very sure we've gone to the point where we can both very adequately argue the other person's perspective before they've said anything. And it's funny, but it's also genuinely really helpful when we have like any kind of decision we want to make, because like, well, Callum's going to think this, then I would reply with this, and then this is the outcome that we probably get to. So then we end up having a conversation which is like this, right? And you're like, yes, and we move on. So it's we know each other too well, I think, at this point.
Yeah. But it can make for some really bizarre discussions because we essentially just argue each other's points. It's like, but you're going to think this. No, I know, but you're going to think this. It makes for an interesting position. But I agree entirely, and I think one of the strange things that's also come of it is we catch up and talk far less now than we have done in the history of the business. Like, we're both incredibly busy and have so many things that we need to be doing. And always most importantly is that we are fully aligned. And we've got to a point where we generally have very, very strong trust and know that we will be on the same page on almost everything. And if there's anything that comes up where we know that that's not going to be the case, we will find time to have that conversation. But it also means now that, once a month or how often we ever get to do these things, we'll go to a pub, we'll grab a pint, and we will just list through a series of topics in about 5 minutes and just check in with each other on where we are on all of them. Just like dunk, 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 dunk. Oh, I've seen you've changed your view on this. Let's dive into this. And it's genuinely wonderful. It feels like a 4-hour offsite meeting done in about 10 minutes. And then we start diving into interesting challenges where we may have new concepts or new ideas.
It's normally ranting about.
It's normally ranting. It's always ranting. But I like to think it's intelligent ranting.
Deep analysis.
Deep analysis
of annoying things.
Of annoying things. Yes.
So, like, eola is a very deeply technical business. Fundamentally the most complex thing that we have as a technical challenge is the scale of the platform. Like where most SaaS products try and choose like a specific vertical of your business to optimize, we're essentially saying we will try and take your entire business online, and all of the processes that you do offline, we will digitize them. So we need to have a huge array of products. Every single one of those products themselves, well, most of them aren't like wildly complex, but we need to make sure that they all work together, which is super challenging. So we need to be like 5 steps ahead of whatever it is that we're working on. So, coming back to like the product conversation, identifying that roadmap is not just about what feature we deliver when, it's about how we deliver this chain of features, and how does that tie into like the super long-term roadmap of like, 5 years down the line, we want to be, on the forefront of the future of work. And a very large company that's, got a very strong B2C space, like play, as well as a B2B side. And all of that requires like a lot of discussion to make sure we're constantly on the same page.
Yeah, 100%. And at every stage, we have to think about what are the resources, where are those resources going, where are the resource gaps going to appear. And, we are still investment led. We always need to be thinking at every stage, who are we going to hire? When are we going to hire them? What does that look like for the team? What does that look like for the processes? So it does mean that constantly we're planning out every different scenario and diving into what they could look like. It does create some really interesting discussions and challenges, but also is very useful because we have a really strong network of people who we can talk to and just bounce ideas off. But yeah, this is 100% where we dive in vast majorities of the time. The past has been, we are a business that's focused on just getting things done, but now it's opened it up. I mean, we have launched or started to launch initiatives across culture, across sustainability, across the environment, and that's been a really wonderful thing for us to be able to do. And I think the most exciting is our green initiatives. At the moment, they're very nascent, and we see a path where we can become this incredibly positive, environmentally green and carbon positive business. It's not a quick journey, and I think it's going to take us a long time, but even the fact that we're able to start on that is a really, really wonderful movement. It means that we are building something much more potent and much more sustainable.
Like something that we subscribed to right from the beginning was we'd rather fail for the right reasons than succeed for the wrong. And it's genuinely, like, I think that the team really subscribes to that. And it's also one of those things that, like, we keep on saying this, that everything that we do that is positive and nice, you can flip it and, be cynical about it and say that it gives us other benefits. Which, like, we're incredibly nice to the team, but I think when, lockdown hit and we didn't know what was happening, just like everyone in the activities industry and the travel world was just afflicted, and we had to tell the team, like, we don't know what's going on. Every single person on the team turned around, one of the most like stressful and emotional calls that I've ever had, and essentially said, nah, we'll do it, like 100%, like whatever it takes, we'll put through. And I think for me, that was like the most black and white payoff of, we've invested, being nice into the team. But it does pay off as well. It's not just like doing it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, I think having no tension between being a good business and being the business we want to be is wonderful. I think if it ever came to a decision where we had to choose between doing the right thing and being cynical, I think we'd always choose the right thing. And I think that is incredibly important to who we are as a business and who we want to be as a business. I think that's why transparency is right at the heart of everything we do. Like, we really want to show everything and say, this is why we do this is why this is important to us, and this is making sure it's clear that, this is who we are.
it was quite funny. Like we're a much bigger, more stable business now, but all of the people who joined initially, we essentially explained to them, we're a tiny startup. We are very likely going to fail. Join this only if you want to kind of have a real impact and make a difference, but don't join this for any other reason. And so like a lot of people were turned away at that point because that's not what they were looking for. But it meant that the people that did join, joined for absolutely the right reasons, and they're super motivated. And I think you can see that just like in how the company's growing, but also even just like the product itself.
I think that's a really easy question for us to answer. I mean, always it comes back to the same thing for us, and that's team. The way the team has delivered, the way the team has executed, the way the team has just grown has been the most incredible thing. Like seeing these people have their own ideas, their own concepts, and jump from what me and Dan started with. I mean, many years ago, 4 years ago, it started with me and Dan in a flat bouncing ideas and talking to people. And now it's a group of people taking those ideas and running with them far beyond where me and Dan started with and into really incredible places. And that is just wonderful. Like you always think it's just going to be this linear path where you start in one place and you're going and iterating on that. But seeing the way people have brought in their own views on this is remarkable. So everything we're doing, everything we're deciding is much more a group of people now than it ever was.
It's probably also worth like contrasting as well. Like the reason many startups don't make it is because the team isn't right. And yeah, it feels genuinely really like special that everything seems to be going in the right direction, which is just super exciting.
Agreed.
Dan, how would you say Callum's quest to become the least intelligent person in eola is going?
That is a good question.
Be careful how you answer this one, Daniel.
I'm trying to think of a way to say it's going well without sounding like it's an offensive thing, but it's going well,
Thanks, Dan. So.
Not a fair question.
I feel like we need to give Callum room to respond to that.
I feel no need to respond. I think Dan is entirely correct.